so many people have weighed in on the assault weapon ban conversation. Senator Casey has publicly said he's changed his position. Both of your predecessors in the governor's office have weighed in. I wonder if now you're ready to...
No, I have weighed in. I was on the radio today doing it. I've weighed in on other occasions. First off, what I say is, and I think we all agree with this, our hearts and prayers go out to the families and to the ones who were lost. Also, you probably have seen that tomorrow, at the request of Governor Malloy, we've asked for a moment of silence across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania at 9:30, and we will be exercising that. In fact, I will give you a heads up. We're going to do something, bringing the staff together up in the governor's reception room to recognize that period of time. And you're more than welcome to come and join us in that moment of silence. Pennsylvania has been the victim here before. If you go back just to the nickel mines incident down in Lancaster County, 4 years ago? And the occasion that is common throughout all of these, besides the fact that there was a weapon used, is apparently, clearly, something to do with mental illness. And we need to be taking a look at what all the facts are. No rush to judgments here. We know the fact that people were dead, and we know the fact that a young person went and took a weapon and for some inexplicable reason killed these children and the adults. I always believe when you're in that area, there's a mental illness issue that is there. We have, at the state level, if you look at the amount of money between federal and state government that goes into mental health issues in Pennsylvania, it's just shy of $1 billion. We're one of the leading states when it comes to that. But I think we need to see and study and see what more we can do. I think Pennsylvania and the schools of Pennsylvania have learned from the lessons of Columbine and nickel mines and everywhere else. And the Department of Education, and under the federal government regulations also, have a great deal of security efforts in place in those school districts that will hopefully prevent something like this. The state police and the local law enforcement work together very closely on a regular basis with all the school districts of Pennsylvania. And as you may or may not know, and I think a lot of people don't know, exactly what the schools do on a regular basis in exercise of drills, not just a fire drill, but hazardous substance drills and so forth. And I believe that the schools are pretty well prepared for that. But it's very hard to be prepared for that mental illness striking. And it doesn't matter whether it's an assault weapon or a handgun. It's the mental illness issue that we have to work as much as we possibly can on. And I would hope that when this is, time has passed, I know the Vice President has a direction from the President to come up with some report, that the issue of mental illness will be as high as any other thing on the weapons side.
Do you have a position on the proposal to...
I believe that we have, until the federal government changes the law, we have assault weapons there. Even if they were to change the law, they're not going to take the ones that are presently there away. We need to enforce the laws. And Mr. Vickers, you haven't been around as much when I was Attorney General to know exactly how much as Attorney General I have done to enforce, and as U.S. Attorney, frankly, back in those days, to enforce the firearm laws of the U.S. and of Pennsylvania, up to and including creating a gun violence task force in Philadelphia about 5 years ago at the request of the legislature to go after the straw purchasers of guns. And I believe our numbers during the period of time that I was there, we took over 500 people off the streets, or arrested them. The courts have to take them off the streets for purchasing guns as a straw purchaser, which is one of the main ways a lot of the criminals get their weapons. In this case today that we're talking about, though, that wasn't how the weapon was obtained. The weapon was at home. legal. It could have been an assault weapon. It could have been a handgun, carrying multiple shells in it. And maybe we need to look at, are your guns secured? One of my observations is those of us who have been in both law enforcement and in the military is when we have weapons, they're secured when they're not on our person. They are secured at all times. And maybe that's something that should be discussed at some point in time as to how weapons are secured, particularly if there's children in a home, or maybe particularly if there's somebody with a demonstrated case of mental illness. For us here in Pennsylvania, we call it a 302 commitment or something like that. We do, through our background checks, check for that with the mental health commitments. So when somebody purchases a weapon in Pennsylvania, we do check to see if they have any kind of record of mental health issues, and that's one of the determinations before the weapon can be sold. So, you know.
Governor, I'm just trying to find out if the chief executive of the state favors assault weapons ban or not.
You know, I'm going to follow the law. I do not think that you're going to see a change in the law, if you're asking me that opinion. I don't think that's going to change. It's a congressional law. They're the ones who are going to have to change it. That's where the battle will be.
Governor, when you referred to discussing potentially how weapons are secured, were you saying that it's possible that some kind of legislation could be appropriate?
No, what I'm saying is that's something we ought to begin the thought process of, because we haven't. I haven't had a chance to talk to these two gentlemen, one of each house. This is something that is less than a week old. Let us digest this. Let us see what we can do. Let us sit down and talk about it. Let's listen to what the report is coming from the Vice President's Commission. And maybe, we'll see. I suspect that based upon what I just said, you're going to see people that are very pro what I just said about securing it, and there'll be people that are not in support of that. But we need to at least take in consideration of how do we keep legally possessed weapons out of the hands of people with mental illness that could use it against somebody.
On the mental health thing, I understand that there were, like shortening the waiting list for certain mental health issues to get services. I understand that was a coup, and that was appreciated by mental health illness advocates. But a lot of those groups are not very happy with your administration, do not like, cuts to public welfare. After something like this, does it make you think maybe we need to do more to allocate more funding to the Department of Public Welfare for mental health services in the next budget cycle?
Well, what you're asking me is should we reprioritize the money that's going to the Department of Public Health, of Public Welfare. Right now, as you know, when we talk about health, public health and welfare, 38.9% of a $27.6 billion budget goes directly to those items.
It's a lot of money, but arguably not enough.
Well, arguably there's not enough for everything that we have, but we have to live within the means that we have. And so that's where the priorities have to come in. That's always a subject of debate. I propose, they decide. We work on it together, but
Does that mean like there's no change to there's no redoubled effort to increase money?
oh, listen, we have gone back and in the past, go back and look at some of our spending. We've tried to live within our means and meet needs. We're not going to meet everybody's needs at this point because the needs are always going to exceed. You've heard me say that, Mary, many times. Always going to exceed the amount of revenue that we have. We could have $10 billion more, and people are going to say we still need more. Okay? We're going to do the best job we possibly can.
Do you think it would make Pennsylvanians safer if the
I'm sorry?
Do you think it would make Pennsylvanians safer if the federal government did that?
What, did a ban on assault weapons? The only ban on assault weapons that we had was the one for the sale of assault weapons, if I recall correctly, in the past, okay? The assault weapons are already out there. A new ban isn't going to make them safer. I wish it would. It doesn't. But if we help with mental health, hopefully that will make us safer.